Thanks for joining me today, Tsahi. We're going to talk about a little different topic than usual today. You've been mentoring some local youth on software development. My understanding is you're even working in some real-time application development into that. Tell us about it.
Yep. Yes. So there is this project in Israel called Magshimim Cyber, which goes and finds school kids in high school in Israel, but not in the center of the country, not in Tel Aviv. So not in the areas where you'll have all of the high tech scene and the capabilities are just not there. And what they do, they start teaching them computer science in really small groups, like 10 kids or less, in classes around the country. And they do that from grade, I think, 9 or 10 until the 12th grade. And in the 12th grade, they need to pick a project related to communications in some way, and then go and develop that project. There are, I think, around 200 groups, something like that. Now, a group is two kids building a project.
Okay.
And when they get to that point, they assign to them mentors. Now, here it becomes interesting. The mentors are from the industry, and they just do it by volunteering. I was a bit bored half a year ago and didn't know what I want to do. And a friend of mine suggested go do that. So I did. I looked at the list of projects, around 30 or 40 of them were either BitTorrent like projects or TeamViewer or remote control of machines. So it was all like, well, that's WebRTC, that's WebRTC, that's WebRTC. So I said, I'll try that. It sounds interesting. I wrote myself all over there, which is not what you should do. I was new to that. And I ended up having 4 teams. I understood that only on the last week that I had 4, not 3, because it was just so jumbled up. It was interesting and it was fun as hell. I'm definitely going to do it next year as well.
That's really cool. And so you said it has a communications focus specifically in this, or
Yes.
just the projects you picked did?
No, it's either like you need to build SSH, or just things that revolve around communication technologies. And then they have things that look like WebRTC.
Yeah.
And the kids need to go research it, figure out what they want to build on their own, build the whole architecture and technology in place, and do it in 5 sprints of 3 weeks each, which is impossible. And they need to write stuff, not only use third parties and cobble them up.
Yeah.
So if I'd come and say, well, just go use Jitsi or use Janus or use MediaSoup, or it would be, no, we can't do that. Or use the browser. Now you need to explain why they're actually writing stuff on the server and why it makes sense and why it's still a good project. So it was challenging in a lot of many ways. One of them was that you can't really do whatever you want. They need to learn from that how to develop stuff. Now I had 4 different groups. 2 groups, 3 groups developed with C++. 1 group used Python. Why? Just because they could use whatever they want. They're given like, do whatever you want. So it's really interesting. There was a group that started and said, well, we want to build BitTorrent. So I said, okay, that's nice. And then we started working on it. And they ended up taking libnice, like the C library that implements the ICE protocol, and then connecting it to their own implementation of a protocol that does BitTorrent, and building the whole thing around that. And then running, to show it and simulate it. This week they had 20 Docker machines running on AWS, showing in front of a machine that does all of the management of this, and running out of the laptops in the class through hotspots, and it was really, really fun.
I was going to ask you why C++, but if they're doing that low level with ICE protocol, now that makes sense. That's pretty wild.
Yes, and then there is another group comes in, and they decided that they want to build, what was it? Remote control with C++. But then you need UI. So they ended up using Qt and just,
wow,
it was horrible. It was great. The project worked. They did the screen sharing. It was, and they didn't use WebRTC at the end. They used something called Inet, and then on top of that does reliability over UDP,
Mhm.
and send the data through that to the other side, and they use the H.264 encoder using GStreamer or FFmpeg, one of these two. So it was really fun seeing. Then the third group decided they want to build TeamViewer, and they used Python.
Okay.
And they decided to use Python for the protocol and the network, not for the server. I told them, look, use the browser, and then we'll build something around the server that is signaling, and you can say that it worked well. No, they wanted to use Python. But then they came to this crazy idea of, well, we're going to use WebRTC, which is Python for WebRTC. And in order to have the GUI for that and the encoding, they use the browser. So they took a browser, they made it run the bindings in front of their Python code so they can run stuff through there. So the whole UI was HTML based. Then the browser did the screen grabbing and got the audio with get user media. Then it did the encoding itself, and they passed the frames in JSON of base 64 of the encoded data to Python, and they did that through the data channel in LibWebRTC and got 5-10 frames per second, but it worked.
Yeah.
And it was amazing just seeing these things and how they build these things and how it worked. It was really, really fun.
That's really fantastic, and I love that you're doing this, and I love the focus of the group too. Seems to me like among the array of services that you offer in the WebRTC industry, so you need to do some job placement, and recruiting services, because you're training the next generation of half the people watching this probably are going to need to hire these people in a few years.
Yes, I thought about it. First of all, I am helping a customer now actually build his team in the recruitment phase and doing the interviews, the job interviews. But here, I thought about that. All of these kids that I were with this week, I would gladly go and hire the moment that they go into the industry.
Yeah.
It's fun because you take 17-year-old kids that deal with doing a driver's license,
Mm-hmm.
they are doing their final exams. In Israel, it's mostly in 12th grade. They need to do all of their interviews for the army
Mm-hmm.
on this time. And then there is a psychometric test, which is like the GMA test for going to university. Some of them do it at that point in time, even though they might go to university only 3 years later after the army. And then they deal with school and life and the things that they have to do. One of the girls there in my group was actually she's learning theater. She's not even doing anything scientific at school, and yet she just does computer science.
Yeah.
Then there's this guy that does robotics in parallel to this, and each one thing that they do takes a whole lot of time, and then they have this on top of it. And you talk to the people that are the ones that teaching them to code, and they go like, well, that's what we expect of them. Whatever they would learn at school for a full year in computer science, they learn with us in 2 weeks' time.
Yeah.
And that's it. And it's just crazy. And it works somehow. I don't know.
Oh, this is really cool. And it gives me some hope for like the next future, the next generation of engineers in the industry, because, I feel like one of the, when people talk about like AI development tooling, one of the lines of, criticism or hype, however you want to look at it, I suppose, is that AI tooling eliminates the need for junior engineers, or how are junior engineers going to get the training, the mentoring from others to kind of become a senior engineer eventually. And so I love that, that you're doing this and that this sort of group exists, because this is a way to get that. And the fact that they're not allowed to use, off the shelf components or any of the media servers you might normally recommend, they're obviously getting to really learn a lot of the really important fundamentals.
It was, for me, it was really, really fun. First of all, being with kids, you become, I just went back to being a kid on my own, doing this in the places that really need that. Not, it's not, I'm not doing it in Tel Aviv. In Tel Aviv, they're like, you can get this training everywhere in courses and stuff. You can't do it if you live in the north of Israel.
Mm-hmm.
And then you start these discussions with the kids, and you tell them, you put on my just put on my calendar an invite. They don't understand what you want from them, but they know how to code. It's like, it doesn't, or they won't send me a WhatsApp message because it's too late in the evening. It's 10 p.m. And I'm like, what's the problem? It's like, they treat me as a grown-up, or it's so stupid. So it was really fun. I'm definitely going to do it next year. I'm not sure if I'll do it for 2 groups or 4.
Right.
I was driving this past week. I drove all of Israel to the north and to the south, 3 hours in each direction in my car, just in order to be with them for the half hour that they are going to show this to the other kids in their class. So me and 6 or 8 kids, and then went home happy after that.
Right. That's super cool. Well, that's great. I can see you've drawn a lot of energy from it, and that's one of the great benefits. Mentoring is not just about the mentee, but good for the mentor as well too. So
it's almost the opposite. It's like they're doing me a favor for letting me being with them. That's the way I feel in that relationship, in a way.
Yeah, that's really cool. Well, thank you for sharing that story with us, Tsahi. I appreciate it. Anything else you want to add today or about that experience?
Going to Japan for 2 weeks. Probably once this gets published, I'll be back.
Yeah.
With the family. So a vacation.
Enjoy. Well deserved, no doubt. All right. Well, thanks for sharing your insights with us today, as always, Tsahi. And for those of you watching, to learn more about Tsahi's work, you can check him out at bloggeek.me. To learn more about future episodes of WebRTC Live, check us out at WebRTC.ventures. Thanks, Tsahi.
Thanks, Arin.
Thanks for joining us for WebRTC Live. Visit our website at WebRTC.ventures to learn more about our custom design and development services, and to learn more about upcoming episodes of WebRTC Live.